What happens when one of Australia's most popular young conservationists turns up to a morning show expecting a warm welcome and gets ambushed by a host with a personal vendetta against him? We are about to witness one of the most explosive, uncomfortable, and downright shocking live television meltdowns ever. Trust me, you won't see how fast this escalates coming. But before we dissect this chaotic exchange, smash that subscribe button and let me know in the comments below whether you think hosts should be able to interview guests without doing a shred of research. Because what you're about to see is proof of why that is never okay. 20-year-old son of the late Steve Irwin, Robert, arrived to The View expecting a heartwarming chat about his new wildlife series and his passion for animal conservation. This past week, Robert had delighted the hearts of the Australian public and just about every other audience he'd encountered with his earnest passion and deep respect for his father's legacy. Every other interview had been a breeze, a genuine respect, a lot of enthusiasm, thoughtful questions from friendly hosts. But apparently Joy Behar had other plans. As soon as Robert stepped out onto the set, the temperature dropped. The usual joyful atmosphere seemed to be replaced by a forced, rigid smile from Joy, while the other panelists appeared almost unable to hold their breath. Robert, ever the professional, began to warmly greet the hosts and studio audience, unaware he had just walked into a trap. "Welcome back to The View," Joy began, her voice sharp. "We're joined today by Robert Irwin, wildlife conservationist and son of the late Steve Irwin." Leaning forward, her eyes narrowed, she continued, "Robert, I've actually been wanting to ask you something that's been really bothering me." Robert shifted slightly, his eyes fixed on Joy. "Of course, Joy. Go ahead." "Well, I've been watching your documentaries and your interviews," Joy said directly, "and I have to wonder, are you actually accomplishing anything of your own accord, or are you just living off of your father's legacy?" The air in the studio felt thick. The smile on Robert's face faltered slightly for a millisecond, but he regained his composure with practiced ease. "Well, Joy, I can certainly understand why people may see it that way," he said calmly. "But my involvement in wildlife conservation spans my entire life. I've personally rescued thousands of animals from perilous situations and worked on critically important programs to save endangered species." Joy was not satisfied. "That's precisely my point," she cut in. "You're just continuing his work. Where's your own individuality? Honestly, it feels like you're just trying to be your father in khakis, constantly playing dress-up, pretending to be him. When are you actually going to discover yourself and an identity beyond your father?" Whoopi Goldberg glanced at Joy, seemingly prepared to jump in, but Joy was on a roll. Robert took a slow, deep breath, consciously trying to maintain a respectful demeanor. "Joy, with all due respect," he began, "conservation isn't about individuality or my ego. Whether I'm building upon my father's foundations or starting new ventures, my mission remains the same, and that is to protect the wildlife that we share our planet with." "Oh, come on," Joy scoffed, rolling her eyes. "That's such a convenient line. And do you know what I really think? I think you're actually afraid to stray from your father's path because you know, deep down, that you're not going to be able to measure up. You're 20 years old. Maybe it's time you grew up instead of running around playing in the dirt with all the animals." At that very second, Robert's media-trained smile vanished. He looked directly at Joy, a controlled intensity radiating off of him. "Joy," he began, his Australian accent deepening with the shift in his voice, "do you have any concept of what my work actually entails?" The room fell silent. "Just last month, I was on the ground rescuing a koala and her joey that had been trapped in a bushfire," Robert continued, his voice resonating with power. "The breeding program I've been instrumental in launching has managed to successfully reintroduce echidnas into areas they had been absent from for over 2 decades. You want to talk about growing up? I grew up watching my father calmly remove venomous snakes from people's homes in the middle of the night to ensure families could be safe in their own living rooms. I grew up at a wildlife hospital that has treated over 100,000 injured, orphaned, and endangered creatures. This isn't a game to me, Joy. This is my life. This is my purpose. This is a responsibility." The studio was absolutely tense, but Joy still misinterpreted his raw emotion as a sign of weakness. "Look, I get that you're upset, Robert," she said condescendingly. "But facts are facts. You are where you are because of your father's fame. Remove the name Irwin and you're just a kid playing in the bushes. Maybe it's time to admit it and go find a real job." Robert stood still. The studio went silent again. "A real job?" he repeated, the softness of the words almost unnerving. "Joy, do you even have any idea what my father was doing at the moment that he died?" Joy's eyes widened, clearly caught off guard by the shift in the conversation. He was filming a documentary about stingrays, Robert said, his voice now booming and commanding the entire room. He wasn't doing it for personal gain. He wasn't doing it for the spotlight. He was doing it to try and give a voice to creatures that can't speak for themselves. He died doing exactly what he loved, trying to educate, protect, and advocate for the natural world. He looked directly at Joy, and I will spend the rest of my life ensuring that his legacy and mission never dies. Want to talk about actual careers? My dad could have made millions turning Australia's zoo into a cheap theme park. He could have sold out for easy money and mindless entertainment. He chose education. He chose conservation. Joy looked stunned. I mean, really, genuinely stunned. But Robert kept leaning in, wouldn't let her off the hook. I do this work every day because I am honoring that legacy. I do this work because the work itself matters. We are losing species as we speak, and animals are dying while you make fun of khaki shorts. Whoopi finally tried to jump in, saw this spiraling, and Robert didn't even let her finish. This young kid from the beginning of the interview, that has disappeared. I want to hear about how you are dealing with it today, Joy. You came to an interview, not to ask questions, but to attack my character and attack my father's memory. You made a joke about conservation. Would you say that to David Attenborough? Would you say that to Jane Goodall? Joy wanted to respond, opened her mouth, nothing came out. And this is what I really don't get. He continues with a quiet intensity. You're sitting on a television show giving an opinion on someone who is actually working on the ground, out in the world, saving animals. You want to talk about my impact? How many species have you personally saved? The studio audience gasps. Joy visibly freezes and her cheeks flush with embarrassment. She made one last desperate attempt to restake her ground. Maybe someone needed to tell you the truth, Robert. You're not special just because you have a famous last name. That's the breaking point. Robert stands and literally towers over the table, his demeanor shifting dramatically. Special because I have a famous last name? Do you understand what that last name means? It means I have been waking up every morning before dawn to check on injured animals. It means I have been reading crocodile behavior before I could even drive a car. It means that every day of my life I am carrying on a life-changing legacy. Joy began trying to regain control. Robert, please sit down. But her voice cracked. I'm not going to sit down, he snapped back. You ambushed me. You belittled me and my work, and you disrespected my father. And you expect respect? You want respect, Joy. Do your research. Do better. The difference between a theme park and working with conservation is the difference between easy money and meaningful work. Robert picked up his mic one final time, turned his back to the panel of talk show hosts, and spoke directly into the camera lens. I came here today to talk about endangered species. Instead, you turned this into a personal attack to drive ratings. Thank you for reminding me exactly why I do what I do and why it means more than anything else going on here. He put the microphone down on the table with a click. If you actually care about animals, watch the work that we're doing at Australia Zoo, because people like me are trying to make the world a better place, not you. And with that, Robert Irwin walked off the set of the talk show. Joy Behar had nothing to say. The other hosts were completely frozen. The audience was stunned into silence, and the camera stayed on Joy's face for a few extra seconds before abruptly cutting to a commercial break. Robert Irwin did more than defend himself that day. He defended conservation. He defended the honor of his father's legacy. He defended all of the creatures in the world that do not have a voice of their own. What do you think? Was Robert in the right? Did Joy cross a line that can never be uncrossed? Tell me what you think in the comments section below, and be sure to subscribe to catch all the other insane moments we witness on television.